This is SDR News and Geekazine.com's coverage of Microsoft Management Summit, brought to you by HP.
Hi, I'm Andy McCaskey from SDR News, and this is our wrap-up edition of our coverage of the Microsoft Management Summit here in Las Vegas. And Las Vegas weather and dry air is really famous for drying out vocal cords. And plus, 30-some interviews that we've done here in the past couple of days.
Yeah, I think it was probably 24 or so at NAB, for those of you that don't know or haven't followed us. I mean, we've got a bunch of interviews that aren't live yet that we did at NAB, and I think I'm counting we did 11 today, so yeah. Over 35.
Why introduce yourself, Calvin?
Yeah, I guess I should. I'm Calvin Zito, HP Storage Guy on Twitter, and my blog, hp.com/storage/blog.
We have had quite an experience today that was set up very early, talking about the long-term partnership between Hewlett-Packard and Microsoft.
Yeah, and it is a long-term partnership. It was a pretty impressive day to me. A lot of the people who came in and we talked to were kind of new people to me. A lot of the topics were really good learning for me. And some of this I did know, and some of it was new. So for me, this was great because I got to see some things I didn't know. And the partnership between HP and Microsoft is certainly impressive. I mean, 30 years is a long time for any relationship and the fact that there's not too many relationships in the business world that have lasted that long.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the other thing that was interesting to me was to see how Microsoft and HP are able to work together in a lot of technologies that we talk about in general, from a storage standpoint, from a cloud standpoint.
Yeah, and actually today was, in a lot of ways, was focused more on kind of the enterprise stuff. I mean, we did have one session where we talked about the PC side of things, and the folks from our PC organization talked a little bit.
One of my favorites, incidentally, but.
Yeah, but I mean, we were pretty narrowly focused. This is Microsoft Management Summit, so it was really focused on Microsoft Management. There's a lot of things we haven't hit on today, and I mean, that may be something to consider.
So how did things break down? I mean, it seemed like they were kind of grouped in the different interviews that we did today.
Yeah, I mean, as I looked at it, I mean, I was just actually, as we were just thinking about doing this, I looked at it and I thought, if I was going to tell people what your interest areas are and what to go back and look at. I think the first interview we did with Jeff Carlett and Mark Hassel, Jeff from HP and Mark from Microsoft, they did a great job of giving that overview picture of the HP-Microsoft relationship, talked a little bit about some of the things we're doing, and that's a great place to start. If you want to, for everybody that is interested, that's, I think, the video to start with. Obviously, my passion and love is storage.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of sessions there that we talked about. That was one where we talked about store system with Mike Rowlandson. And then we also had a solutions discussion with Parissa Mohammadi that was towards the end of the day. And I know there was one more, and I just realized I didn't circle it on my paper. But with HP Storage Management that we talked about with Amit Kumar, talking about how we integrate storage management into System Center. That was one kind of grouping I saw. There was also, I'd say, a management grouping. I just mentioned the session that Amit did talking about storage management. Then there was also from a server standpoint, we also talked about how Insight Control integrates, and that was one that Doug did. That was a real informative one for me, because I didn't have a lot of that detail that Doug shared with us. And then the last grouping is around cloud. And then again, and that covers all of them. So we had the cloud solution, we had the private cloud, and the other videos were there.
Well, the part that I liked particularly is kind of like tied for number one from my point of view, was surrounding the demonstration of capability that we had here at the Microsoft Management Summit, surrounding the server aquarium.
Yeah.
And it was fun to go out and see the actual hardware, and then to appreciate how, I think they said they had over 600 desks of training that were going on throughout
there's 600
facility.
students at any one time. I think it was actually more than that. I think it was like 650 that could be doing a hands-on lab at any one time. And some of them are just in an open area, which is where we were, and people just walk in, take a free spot, and do a hands-on lab. And then there's instructor-led ones, and those are typically about 100 people per instructor-led. So at any one time, there's 600 people using that infrastructure in there. And they're not just running one virtual machine, as you heard. There's anywhere from 4 to 10 virtual machines for each seat. And I think they reached a max yesterday. They said of 2,200 virtual machines running at once on that infrastructure.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And the fact that there was such a small amount of physical hardware involved in supporting the operation.
Yeah, you know, I saw it last year, and I didn't look at my videos from it last year, but when I walked in, and I seriously was kind of surprised to see there's not a lot of stuff here for running as much, 650 seats and up to 2,500 VMs at once. There wasn't a lot of hardware run in there to make that all happen.
Well, that was Dong Wang, who was the principal engineer associated with that, but we also had a chance to talk with Steve Cole, who was the Director of Technology Services from Extreme Consulting, who actually did the planning. And he talked about he only had just a few months to pull this together.
Yeah, I think if I understand how it all came together, I think Dung's the guy that kind of architected the system, and then they turned to Steve to help actually execute what the plans that he'd put together. So put it in the real world terms, I think Dung was kind of like the pre-sales, architect or solution architect, and then Steve, I would say, probably did the delivery of the architecture that was done. So between those relationships, I mean, that's what really made it come together.
Yeah, and the takeaway that I had from that was that as elaborate as it is, the loading is less than 20% of the capacity of the system.
They could have handled a lot more.
They could have handled a lot more students in this particular situation.
Yeah, and the one thing I got to say, I think in the initial planning, I mean, we initially were going to be doing, talking to Dung right here, sitting in this chair. I'm glad we were able to move out and into the room and actually get it in there. I mean, that was a logistic kind of challenge to make that all come together, but that was great that we were able to actually show folks the server aquarium from the inside the server aquarium.
So I got two on my number one list, but as I went through here, I also enjoyed the departmental private cloud to learn how in mid-market situations or regional banking, I think was the example.
Yeah, that was the example he gave.
How a lot of the flexibility, but at the same time, the security advantages and the rapid scalability were real benefits that came through.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I'm a storage guy, so it's hard not to pick a storage one. But I really enjoyed talking to Parissa. I have a pretty good sense of what we're doing, but hearing about the ESRP results, which she talked about, we'll have more information about that coming out soon, and just what we're doing in terms of integrating storage solutions into in the Microsoft environment was a good for me to hear all that.
Yeah, yeah. So those were the three main groupings that we had, and of course, as we begin to process these videos, there will be available for several weeks here on live stream, kind of in raw form, and then they'll be edited down and maybe a little polish or at least name tags and lower thirds put on, and then that will be published not only at SDRNews.com and at geekazine.com, but eventually they'll end up on the Roku.
Yeah, and I'll certainly point to them from my blog too to help people see where this stuff is afterwards. One thing for you that I'm not totally clear on though, because I haven't actually gone to live stream to see this, is there a way to find them on live stream? What should people look for if they go to live stream?
You can look for SDR News on live stream.
Okay, so you have a channel on live stream. I've always just gone to your website, so I've actually not gone to live stream.
And what will happen is during the week we've had it on the front page, and what will happen is we'll go to the events tab, and will be available
on SDR News. That's where it is.
At SDR News.
Okay, so that's a place where they can always find them, is either on SDR News and it may be on the events tab, or eventually on Roku.
And just search for MMS for that tag, and that will bring up the episodes that have been tagged.
Yeah, so we'll have you'll have these videos from today that people have hopefully been watching, the videos that nobody's seen yet, at least as of this moment, from NAB, because there's some pretty good stuff there. NAB is a fun event for folks that are interested in media and entertainment and video editing and all that world of...
Well, and the National Association of Broadcasters, I've been going to that show for easily 25 years.
You used to work in that industry, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting to see as the transition in media that has occurred, and the blurring of the lines between the IT world and the world of media, and the problems of managing just an incredible explosion of media resources, that the storage business is a good one to be in.
Well, I was fortunate enough on HP's behalf, like about 2000 I think is when it was, is I got sent to NAB because we were looking and thinking about, is this a space we want to jump into? And I was helping lead the investigation of, do we want as a storage organization jump into this? And when I went to that show, then it's like, this is a show I want to come back to.
Sure.
And it took a while for me to get in a place where I could, but it's a fun show to come to from a technology standpoint.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So I know we're getting along in the tooth here, but a couple things I guess I want to make sure I say is, first of all, thanks to you for helping pull this off. You don't see Jeffrey Powers behind the camera, but Jeffrey, great job with all the work behind the scenes helping, and actually some of the interviews at NEB, and specific to MMS, we had Elaine Yee who helped actually put this agenda together, got us this great room, and made sure that all the infrastructure worked, actually live streamed.
And an endless supply of snacks.
Yeah, well, you don't see us eating those because we haven't been walking in front of the camera with the snacks, but they're all over the place here. So
yeah, a great facility, and also some really great capability here at Mandalay.
Yeah, and thanks to the Microsoft folks that helped put this event together and hosted us here. So just a lot of people that were behind the scenes helping make this happen.
Okay, so we talked about SDR News. We want to make sure that you get to the full and blatant plug for the HP Storage Guy in your plug.
Well, yeah, we've already said it, but the plug I want to make actually is, the Storage Guy. You can find me on Twitter as HP Storage Guy. You can find my blog at hp.com/storage/blog. But we were working on a program that we're going to be doing with you across HP storage servers, networking, and cloud that we're going to be starting here in
within
hopefully about
weeks.
a month or so, and people should be watching for that too. That'll be some.
And you'll be able to find that in the Roku Channel Store. If you go in the Science and Technology section and scroll across, you can see the SDR News channel there. It's the same row with the TED Talks and a number of other technology programs, and you can add that in.
And we also have a TechCast that we do. It's a HP called HP TechCast. Jeffrey and I are trying to do this as a kind of monthly show. I haven't been very consistent in coming up with a topic to do monthly, but we're going to continue doing that, and watch for that on geekazine.com as well as on my blog. So.
And a good time was had by all.
That's right. So, honey, won't be home for dinner tonight, but I'll see you tomorrow night.
Okay, thanks for joining us here and for following us on SDR News.